well beaten by Benny the Dip in the Dante Stakes. If you want a three-figure price, Papua is probably the one. Advisor made him run away the last time out at Lingfield. It'd be much easier for Gary Carter to settle him without one today. Nevertheless, I'm afraid he's a remote outsider. Romanov, beautifully bred, has had an operation on his leg, and after finishing third in the Irish Guineas, he was said to have a runny nose. Improvement is possible, to say the least, but he's not certain to stay. And the grey, Silver Patriarch, guaranteed to need every yard of this distance. Impressive at Lingfield. He's improved with every one of his 6 races. With Pat Henry aboard, a serious danger to the favourite. Single Empire has already won the Italian Derby, and that was a wonderfully game performance. He'll need a lot more now, but of Robert Sangster's pair, well, this one looks much the best chance to me. Simmons Inn would be the first Northern winner since Dante, and that was at Newmarket during the war. He looked a tricky ride at York, but Kieran Fallon is in classic winning form. And lastly, the Fly. Probably started the longest price of the 3 greys, and he showed a fierce turn of speed at York last time. He has a famously lucky owner, a definite outside chance.
And there has been some money for the Fly, popular because of the name, I think. Was 33 to 1, now 14 to 1 the Fly. And other creatures to win the Derby, like Flying Fox, Spaniel won it, Lap Dog, and also Spread Eagle. So if you fancy the Fly, there is some precedent for it. But there's no doubt they are smashing in now to this entrepreneur. Rails bookmaker Stephen Littlelade, an even £20,000. 11 to 10 has gone to £5,000 bets twice. They're now asking 11 to 8 on Entrepreneur. It is the 146 times a 2,000 guineas winner has run in the Derby, 35 have won. Most professionals now believe that Entrepreneur will be the 36 2,000 guineas winner to win the Derby. Because of this support, Silver Patriarch is weak. 51 Lingfield Derby trial winners have run in the Derby. 7 have completed the double, but Silver Patriarch out to 13 to 2 in places. Benny the Dip's a 10 to 1 chance. 25 Dante winners have run in the Derby, only 5 have won. Faris is holding up at 12 to 1, 100 to 8, along with Cloudings, also 12 to 1, and France have won it 9 times. But the money down here, particularly solid. The pros are on it, are on Entrepreneur, with the long shot supporters buzzing along with the Fly.
What is especially exciting about this stage of Derby Day is the sense of linking up with history. For these horses are competing for more than just a horse race. They're trying to take their place amongst the images of the mighty. 10th is the site that it all leads to. Up that hill. It's a steep climb. You don't see it from this angle. Right-handed and off around the horseshoe. The first 5 furlongs, remember, it climbs 140 feet. Really a stiff climb. You just go and walk it. And at the end, triumph or disaster. But to win the Derby is to share in a very special fulfillment. For those involved, it is more than the end of 2.5 minutes of racing strain. It is, in every sense, a dream come true.
Runners still approaching the start. The betting says it'll be Entrepreneur this year. 6-4 on. He's a red-hot favourite now. Silver Patriarch at 6-1. Benny the Dip at 10s on 12-1. 5. There's a bit of money now for Cloudings into 12-1 from 14s, and more money for the Fly. The best each way hope here, 12-1 from 14s, was 20-1. At 20-1, Bold Demand, 25's Romanov. Simmons in at 33-1, 40-1, Muzalzal and Single Empire. Crystal Hearted at 66-1, and just a penny or two now for Papua, who's into 150-1 from 200-1.
To go to the Derby start is quite an extraordinary experience. No one today would ever set a racecourse around such a steep and undulating circuit. Everyone ought to travel it once a year.
Yeah, the present Derby course was first used in 1872, 92 years after the race began, and they start 360 feet up and they climb another 134 at the top of the hill. So as Bruff told you, there's dogleg to the right after a couple of furlongs, and then they begin to sweep left and run down, where position is all important. You drop some 50 feet down to Tatnam Corner and then into the straight, and remember the camber towards the inside of the rail, you're dropping as well. It's a unique course, all right, and it takes a special horse.
First horse to arrive down at the start is Romanov, John Reed. He is Oliver Pellier, who was our guest on the morning line this morning on Cloudings. Just getting a little bit hot, as you can see. Over there is Frankie on Bold Demand. That still looks quite cool. Here comes Papua, the big outsider. I'm looking for Benny the Dip to see if he's going to be Benny the Drip. He's just coming over towards us now. The starter, by the way, Simon Morant, will be starting his 4th Derby. He's assisted by Peter Haynes. And one of the interesting points here, one of the stall handlers is Brian Taylor, and it was his father, late father, who won the 1974 Derby on Snow Night. Coming around towards me now is Entrepreneur. Let me have a close look, and he's getting hot. He's warming up a little bit, no doubt about that, and Michael Canan's just got a bit of grass there, just wiping the sweat off the horse's neck. Let's hear from the man on board. What are his thoughts? Will Entrepreneur stay the 1.5 miles?
You don't know for sure until you tackle it. He's a lovely rider. He'll settle well, and I expect him to be nicely balanced around here, and he's going to travel well for a long way. And you got to be confident and think positively. And I'm going out with the view that he will stay.
Well, very soon the starter will be calling the roll. Simon Rand over here with his assistant Peter Haynes, and they're getting a final pull on the girths. Horses always blow out to begin with, so you can always get another hole or two. Now Benny the Dip is just looking a little bit on the warm side. Will he ride? Now here we go. He's just calling the order.
Edward 5, Reed 7, McLaren 9, Carter 11, and Kinane 13.
Odd One's going first. Fallon goes in late, so there's obviously a problem with Simmons in. Odd One's going first. The goggles are beginning to come down. They're beginning to file round behind the starting stalls. Faris, I know, has a handler down here. Frank, the assistant trainer. and I've got Benny the Dip in front of me, and he's not sweating up at all. Is that a bad sign? Frankie Dettori's got his feet out the irons, just relaxing. They're going behind the starting stalls. I'm moving off the track because the seconds now ticking away. It won't be too long before the 218th Vodafone Derby is off and running. They're loading up.
So just going around behind the stalls, starting to load. Entrepreneur, Faris, Entrepreneur and the Fly, they were all the positives. Silver Patriarch and Benny the Dip just moving out slightly in the betting.
More and more punters convinced now that Entrepreneur will win the Derby. 6-4 on. One or two bookmakers asking for 13-8. Easy to back. Silver Patriarch at 6-1. 11-1 bar the two. Is the race all over? Has Entrepreneur won already? According to the betting, he has.
So, 218 years ago it all began. The Derby over a mile, won by Diomed. And for a long time, a win here has been the seal of glory, if you like, in the thoroughbred world. So many great names have won it. Will Entrepreneur join that line, or will Frankie Dettori upstage him on Bold Demand from the Godolphin operation, which has added a new dimension to the racing world by training horses in the Middle East? Only 13 runners for this particular renewal, and the last time we had a super horse win the race, there were just 13. 91 when Generous ran away from the lot. So for Derby 97, here's Graham Good.
2.5 minutes in of pure adrenaline, pure rush. The first £1 million Derby, the richest prize in British sport. The last one loads. Under orders, and they're away. 1.5 miles in front of them, and uphill for the first half with his Crystal Hearted, Benny the Dip and Faris, who are the first three to show. Up on the outside, we've got Simmons in, Bold Demand, holding a wide stall, and then Single Empire just in behind this. At this stage, the favourite midfield, and it's Crystal Hearted that shows the way. In second place, Musal Sal and Bold Demand, Simmons in the inside. Faris not that far away. Benny the Dip holds a good position, and the favourite Entrepreneur in behind them. Pat Heddery on. Silver Patriarch sits in about 7th or 8th place. Single Empire and Papua towards the back as they make their way through the first 3 furlongs, and it's Crystal Hearted and Benny the Dip sitting 1 and 2. Bold Demand, the blue jacket, the inside, Stripe Cap, the outer is Faris, then Single Empire, followed by Cloudings and Simmons in, and then we have Musal Sal. Just a length behind these on the outside is Single Empire, Romanoff with a run. Entrepreneur on the outside of the pack at this stage. The Flying Silver Patriarch are towards the back, and they're through the first half mile. At the top of the hill then, in Crystal Hearted, Tony McGlone in his first Derby leads to Benny the Dip in second, and Bold Demand, the all blue, the inside of on the outside Faris, and then we have Single Empire. Simmons in the inside of Musal Sal and Cloudings and Papua. Entrepreneur just being pushed along a little bit. The fly out the back is going to be played for speed. So too Silver Patriarch, and Romanoff is towards the back as they begin the descent, and they're past the halfway stage. The 6-4 on favourite Entrepreneur is 4th from last at this stage as they make the descent to Tattenham Corner. 5 furlongs to go in the Vodafone Derby. Still Crystal Hearted has it. To Bold Demand, the inside of Benny the Dip, and a little bit of scrimmaging there. Entrepreneur on the outside of the field is still 5th last. The fly is being played late, and they continue the descent round Tattenham Corner, and it's Benny the Dip who commits and goes on. To Crystal Hearted in second. Entrepreneur, the favourites, on the wide outside. In behind Clouding, just down the straight to come, and it's Benny the Dip in the lead. To Faris in second. Bold Demand in third. Here comes Entrepreneur, the outside of Simmons in. Crystal Hearted is crawled enough. Silver Patriarch under pressure, but Benny the Dip is clear by 4 lengths and a quarter of a mile to go in the Vodafone Derby. 2 in second place, Faris, Silver Patriarch. Entrepreneur, the odds-on favourite, will not be winning from that position, but it's Benny the Dip, clear by about 5. 2 in second place, Silver Patriarch, who's eating up ground. Into third goes Romanoff. Entrepreneur only 4th, and Pat Heddery on Silver Patriarch, putting in a power finish. Giant strides to greatness. Benny the Dip holds it up the line. It's on the dot. A photo, Benny the Dip, and Silver Patriarch, to Romanoff in third, then Entrepreneur only four, followed by the Fly and Faris, and behind these Kane Simmons in, and behind Simmons in Moussalsel. Bold Demand beats Clouding, Single Empire, Crystal Hearted, and last of all was Papua, the rank outsider. And so this, the 218th Vodafone Derby, has gone to a photo. And a very close call indeed between, on the right, Benny the Dip in the colours of Mr. Landon Knight. On the far side, that white jacket, has John Gosden lifted his first derby and only his fourth ride in the race for 32-year-old Willie Ryan. Has he repelled the late thrust of number 10, Silver Patriarch, in the colours of Peter Winfield? This one trained by John Dunlop, and 45-year-old Pat Edery in his 25th derby. The outcome is a photo to the Vodafone Derby. A close call to boot. Third horse home was Romanoff. What a disappointment for Entrepreneur.
Well, what a wonderful finish to this race. Benny the Dip and Willie Ryan, they certainly they chopped off Crystal Hearted coming round the bend, but he could smell that he had a chance there, Willie Ryan, and he pushed this horse all the way up the straight. And Silver Patriarch was struggling to go to the pace early on, but he was catching this horse hand over fist. I thought he was going to go in win a length. As it was incredibly tight in the end. When they went by, first of all, I thought that the horse on the right, Benny the Dip, had won. When we saw that photo, I wasn't anywhere near as sure. The one thing that you can be certain of, well, there you go, it's certainly not conclusive even from that photo. Maybe the horse this side just a fraction in front of the grey. But Silver Patriarch looks nailed on for the St. Leger.
Yeah, but if you had to have a bet, John, you'd say that Benny the Dip was one, wouldn't you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, say you had to put a decision down.
Yeah, if you had to put a decision down. And a certain amount of justice if he's prevailed, Benny the Dip, because...
Well, Willie Ryan, do you think you've got it?
Leslie, I don't know, it's very tight.
It's awful, I should be asking, saying fantastic and everything else here at the moment, but what are you feeling?
I don't know yet.
How did the race go? When?
The race was fantastic for me. I just hope we hung on.
Could you hear Pat coming after you?
I could see him.
You could see him. Well, it's taking them some time to do this vote. Wait.
First, number 1.
Yes, you've won the derby.
Second, number 10.
Really well done, Willie.
Third, number 9.
Lovely horse.
I was about to say a certain amount of the justice, because Willie Ryan, he's been attached to Henry Cecil's stable for a long time, been a good servant, and he must have felt when Pat Edery gave up the retainer there that he would be the first in line. That job, of course, as everybody knows, went to Kieran Fallon, but he's kept smiling, he's kept working, and I would think that Henry Cecil will be as pleased for Willie Ryan as he could have been if he'd done it himself. As for the favourite, Entrepreneur, well, he got a bump at the start, but never travelled well for a horse that travelled so well in the Guineas. He never travelled well at all this afternoon. He wouldn't have won at a mile, wouldn't have won at any distance.
And inches separate the end of a thrilling race. Willie Ryan on tenterhooks till the result came, and Pat Edery, well, second place, they say, is the first loser, but this horse ran a brilliant race. He was beaten narrowly on El Gran Senor. Pat's had 4 Derby winners himself, John Dunlop 2, but for the owners, they have to feel the disappointment of so near and yet so far. And John Gosden, about whom after his Derby near misses, many people said, well, is he any good as a trainer? Well, John has never stopped having winners since then. Shantou broke the British Classic duck, and this will be the sweetest victory of the night.
Applause echoing all around the grandstand, all around Epsom Downs. A hugely popular winner for John Gosden, Benny the Drip. Trained by Willie Ryan, they call him Benny the Drip no longer. His stamina was ebbing away, but he hung on by a short head to win at 11 to 1. Benny the Drip, The runner-up, Silver Patriarch, the 6-1 second favourite. Romanoff was third at 25-1, and the fourth, the disappointing Entrepreneur, the 14th odds-on chance to be beaten in a derby, was 6-4 on. Third favourite was Benny the Dip, who is following the career of Shirley Heights, who won the Royal Lodge at Royal Ascot, was second at Sandown, won the Dante, won the Derby in 78. John Gosden wins the Derby. Benny the Dip, 11-1.
Willie ran last, rode in the Derby and ended up in the ambulance. He comes back to the most coveted circle in the whole world of racing. Benny the Dip just backs away from it. He doesn't know the true awesomeness of this moment, a moment for Willie Ryan and the rest of them to go into racing history.
Willie Ryan's giving kisses to everybody. What was that like?
Willie.
Terrific.
None. I'll talk to you later.
Let's have a talk to John Gosden. And congratulations. Tears in those eyes yet?
No, not at all. I'm not an overly emotional person. When you win the, think you've won the Derby and you get snatched off you in the last 10 yards, you learn to be pretty hard inside.
Tell us first of all, why did you pick Willie?
Because Willie is he's a good friend and he's a very positive rider. The choice was Gary Hind, Tony Garth, who won his first race on him, and Willie. And the owner and I discussed the matter, and Willie had ridden in 3 derbies. And I do feel that it is a daunting experience for any jockey, and we felt we'd go for someone who'd been there and knocked around in the ring before. And I think that's quite important in life. When you've been knocked about and had a few scars, sometimes it's a better way. And Gary Hind and Tony are great men who ride for me all the time, ride work, ride this horse, but we went for Willie because it was a question of experience.
It was a marvellous and a brave decision, John. Tell us about the horse's owner. He can't be here, Mr. Leonard Knight.
Mr. Knight is at home in Ohio, and I hope he's sort of flying right now. And his wife is here and her great friend, and it is tremendous because he's only sends me one horse sometimes a year, always out of the same mare, and his mother of this horse is now dead. She died of old age, nothing unfortunate, not like that. And it's just a wonderful moment for them all because he bred this horse, and he actually got me to go and look at him in a paddock. He was going to sell him in the sales, and he said, Gosden, go and look at that horse. And I turned around at the airport, did a U-turn, went back, missed my plane, looked at the horse, said, I love him. He said, he'll sell well. I said, yeah, he'll sell well in the sales. You really love him? I said, I really love him. He said, then you can have him.
What a story. Yeah. That's the one play you didn't mind missing.
No.
Now, tell us about the horse. I mean, he's a real professional, isn't he?
He's a thorough professional. He's a very excitable horse, and he got very, very excited coming down to races today. Possibly was the thought he was going to be involved again in a race. He won the Dante well. He got very, very bouncy in the box, kicking, and said, I want to get on with the race now. But I told him we don't run the race at 10 o'clock in the morning. We run it at nearly 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He settled down, and I think possibly that experience settled him, because to saddle, he was the calmest I've ever saddled him, and he was the most calm in preliminaries. And he is what we might call a somewhat hyper-neurotic creature.
Do you worry when people call him Benny the Drip?
No, I don't, because he's a free sweater, and I've met a lot of people in life who are very clever at making deals in the markets or deals in any way of life who are free sweaters, so I don't mind that. If that's their nature, behave with your nature.
And what's it like for you? You had saddled your first classic success last year,
it's a great moment, and it's particularly for my father, who trained Charlatan as a 2-year-old and stood here and watched him win the Derby through ill health and died very soon afterwards. So, quite frankly, this one's for my father.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And so near and yet so far. 1.5 miles the distance, but millimetres. What a judge that Silver Patriarch is just a fortnight in racing history. He's second. Here's the full list.
Here's the full starting prices. First number 1, Benny the Dip at 11 to 1. Second number 6, Silver Patriarch at 6 to 1. Third number 9, Romanov at 25 to 1. The totes there, the win paid £8.90. Places £2.30, £2 and £4.30. Dual forecast £20.40, and the straight forecast £68 and 26 pence. Entrepreneur, the 6 to 4 on favourite, finished 4th. Non-runner number 13 and 13 ran.
Well, Benny the Dip, always up there in the first 2 or 3, and at that point you could see just tightened up Crystal Hearted and probably gets 2 or 3 lengths clear of the remainder of the pack here. Faris just beginning to tire at this point. Bold effort there, and have a look, Romanov's white face just beginning to show through. And at this point the gap opens up for Pat Edry on Silver Patriarch. He begins to get a run there. He's at the same point now with Entrepreneur. No excuses for that horse at all. Just wasn't good enough. Couldn't go the gallop. Now just have a look. He must be a good 6 lengths behind at this point, Jim.
Absolutely, and eats the ground up. But Benny the Dip doesn't stop. Look at him in relation to the others. Silver Patriarch is quickening, and then probably as he gets to Benny the Dip's quarters, maybe he finds a little bit more again, and there's inches in it. Willie Ryan had a wonderful experience of travelling the whole way, or most of the way, on the bridle in the Derby, and in the end he's prevailed after a thrilling finish. What a moment.
It is so close, but there has to be a winner, and the John Gosden team have earned their congratulations. They've done a tremendous job. They are an immensely professional outfit, as you can see from the man at the head of them who's just been interviewed. And now Benny the Dip walks away, but he will not be forgotten. And it's a splendid, simple word to have a Derby winner with a splendid name. Benny the Dip has stolen the Derby. We'll be back. Welcome back to a day when the Derby's reasserted its authority. A great race, not one that's ever a lay-down. It was not a lay-down for Entrepreneur. He's out with the washing, so to speak, along with many others. But here's the list now, the full finishing order from Graham.
Of the 218th Derby, then the Vodafone Derby, and there we have Benny the Dip just holding on from Silver Patriarch, who finished with a real flourish. These have come clear of Romanov, who finishes 3rd, and Entrepreneur is back in 4th place. Then we have the Fly. What a commendable run by that. And then Faris finishing in 6th. In 7th is Simmons in for the North. Never really got into contention. 8th comes home with Salsal. In 9th we've got Bold Demand. And poor old Frankie Dettori could well have ridden Benny the Dip, but he didn't. Bold Demand. And so the Sheikh's penalty is still round their neck, because Cloudings finishes 10th. 11th is Single Empire. Won the Italian Derby, were well out of it here. And 12th is Crystal Hearted. Last, the outsider, Papua.
For the losers, it's over. For the winners, the trophy presentation.
Ceremony for this, the 1997 Vodafone Derby. But before the presentations, Mr. Christopher Spence, the chairman of the Epsom Race Committee.
Your Majesty, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to all to Epsom today. We have just seen the most magnificent race with the closest possible finish for the Vodafone Derby.